Checking connection. I hope we're all connected today. Welcome back, everybody. It is Tuesday once again. Time for No Brush Required. I hope we have great connections. Fingers crossed. My name's Tamara Grand, and my co-host Barbara Reed.
Barbara Reed. How's that for timing?
Perfect timing. Way to go.
Yeah.
How
I
are
heard
you?
you were checking your connections. I'm checking my volume.
Your notifications, all that.
Notifications. I got Roman's in the back room listening to his first Smartless episode.
Which one? Steven Spielberg?
I think he's going for Steven Spielberg.
So good. It's so good. I listened to it yesterday.
Yeah, and you know what? I listened to the Wayne Gretzky one a couple days ago. That was awesome.
It was. He's so Canadian.
He's so Canadian. Actually, I'm listening to him and going, my God, he sounds like everybody I know.
I know. Hello, Yusuf. How are you? We've got some people hopping on. Hey, I just want to make a couple of quick announcements before we got started. Okay, number one, do you notice anything different today?
Where? Like, should I be looking? You got earrings on?
No. I'm not wearing...
What? I don't know what I'm looking at.
Okay, I'll tell you. So last week and a couple weeks ago, we did get some comments from people that we were talking over each other, even though we didn't feel like we were. And when I played back recordings, there was talking over. And it sounds like we were interrupting each other, which I hate because we're usually so good about that. And I did a bunch of research and I couldn't find anything online about problems with Instagram and Instagram lives and being out of sync. But I thought, why not try it without my AirPods? Because sometimes those Bluetooth things, those Bluetooth connections can cause problems. And I'll tell you, I know this because the app that I shoot videos for, when the person who is with me in shooting has her Bluetooth turned on her phone, sometimes it screws up our volume on our camera. So I thought, okay, let's give it a try. So, you know, guys, if you catch us constantly talking over each other and interrupting each other, we're not. It is out of our control. It is a technology thing. My husband's like, maybe it's because she's at 3 hours difference from you.
No.
And it takes an extra 5 seconds for the sound to travel. I'm like, yeah, no.
No, because we never had that problem. And actually, was it a little bit with Rob's episode? I was listening after and it was like, why are the three of us talking at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's something on the app. It's something about the connection. I don't know. I've checked all my connections. It doesn't happen all the time. All we can do is cross our fingers that it doesn't happen. And we apologize to you guys if it does. We're really so polite in conversation.
We don't usually just bulldoze through everybody. Oh, there's Maria from Portugal.
Hi, Maria. Hi, Bonnie.
And Bonnie.
So we'll see how that goes. And the other quick announcement I wanted to make today is just a reminder that 2 weeks from today, we're doing our first No Brush Required reads. And you still have 2 weeks to finish Picasso's War. Have you finished it?
Do you know what? I've been reading it like 2 hours every day, and it still tells, my Kobo still tells me I have 8 more hours of reading. I'm like, oh my God. So I don't know. I'm reading as fast as I can. It is a hefty book. If you have not started it, start it. And get going. We missed some comments. Somebody from Scotland.
Catherine said, yes, so far we're not talking over each other. Good to know. I almost think it happens when we add a third person. So I'm hoping that that's not the case, and I'm hoping that the Bluetooth thing is the problem, and we'll just have to see how we go today. So,
yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Is our special guest in the green room?
I'm going to invite him. Do you want to do a quick intro, or shall
I had to write down the full name because I thought I am not going to remember the entire name. So we have a Toronto-based artist on, which is great. So this is Luke Labelle-Stackhouse, and I hope I said it right. He's just like right up the road from me in Toronto, so it's great to have him on. There he is.
Hello, Luke. Welcome back. You did pop on a few weeks ago, or before Christmas. I can't remember when that was now.
Right. Hello, ladies. How are you?
We're great
today. How are you?
I'm well. It's a bit of a gray, gloomy, rainy day here in Toronto.
Yes,
Probably
it
this.
is.
Same in Vancouver,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Canada wide. But you have all those beautiful bright colors behind you, which helps for sure,
Yeah, I
right?
brought some friends along with me
Good.
because I expect that there's will be a number of people on this that don't really know much about my work. So
Mhm.
I'll
That,
move at time to time to
that,
see that.
Yeah, like your red wall. We have red walls here too. I
Yeah.
haven't seen anybody else who's like painted. Is that Ish Studio or is that like
No, this we're sitting in my dining room right now. It's actually an orange, a really deep sort of dark orange that I quite love, and we have a purple one somewhere else in the apartment.
we have? I'm standing just outside our kitchen. It's called Jester. It's a dark eggplant purple,
Yeah.
and then the red is just over there, and I have gold and I don't even know what's behind me. Some green. So it's nice to
okay.
live in all that color.
Okay, so I'm going to pick both of your brains at some point because I have a room that needs to be redone and repainted, and my go-to color in my house is
No,
grayish.
you can't do
So,
that.
so I'll come back to you when I'm ready to choose
Okay.
paint samples, and I will solicit your advice, your expert advice on choosing bright colors for my
Yeah.
room.
If it's a focus wall, go bold for sure.
Oh, every wall in here is a focus wall. That's depending which way you're facing. And honestly, we love living in all this color.
Right.
I think before Roman met me, he was mostly like beige, that kind of thing, and now it's like he loves all the color. Anyways, enough about that. We want to hear about you, Luke. I don't know much about your background. Can you kind of give us a quick overview of where you've come from, what you've done? Maybe you've always been an artist, that sort of thing.
No, I haven't been. I am self-taught. I have only been dabbling in art for about 10 years now, most of that behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I, like so many people, credit COVID for helping me to come out of the shadows, in that I've only been sharing my work publicly for the past 3 years. Prior to that, it was just, I've always had a full-time job as well. I continue to do so. So this is part-time for me. And it wasn't. I would love to make it full-time, but that goes. So yeah, so I've been, I took a long time to sort of, I was just playing around for the first 7 or 8 years where I, would sketch a lot and do a great deal of reading about color theory. And, but I've always been interested in art, like for much longer than that. I'm an avid art collector and have been so for a really long time. And I always attended the numerous outdoor art fairs that are here in Toronto every summer, and frequent galleries that I liked, and spent more money than I should have over the years on collecting art. So I have, right now we have more than we can hang, even though we're lucky, we have a very large loft here. It's about 1,600 square feet.
Wow.
And yeah, but I, like all of us, I just have stuff that you have to rotate because I just, don't have enough wall space. So
I love that.
Okay,
I'm
still on 1,600 square feet. That's a sizable.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Is that a condo? Like.
Yeah, it's a soft loft. So we're in a building that's 100 years old, and retrofitted into condo units. And we were lucky, bought here like about 18 years ago. So if we sold this, we would not be able to afford to buy it from ourselves now. Right. Like it's, and there's, so much development going on around us. So anyways, yeah. So I grew up in a family that, where art was always the center, and not so much visual art as we're speaking now about today, but rather, music and literature and things like that. My mother was, always had music playing in the house.
Nice.
And I grew up enjoying very much reading and stuff. So yeah, so I've spent my whole adult life just really kind of obsessed about art. Really, as I said, I enjoy. I just actively involved in any way that I can. I've even volunteered for some of the numerous art auctions that happen here within the city. Things like, for the A's Committee of Toronto and an ACT and so on as well. And yeah, so I just always try to be involved a little bit, and have been so for a long time. And so that kind of led me into, okay, let me, I was always been practicing this, and then, COVID allowed all of us time at home. And that's kind of really when I started my own Instagram account and started sharing some of this stuff publicly.
Same with
and
me.
that's quite a feeling, isn't it?
It is.
To put yourself out there.
It's very scary. I haven't shared any of the, I have some of the earlier stuff. I mean, we all do, right? But, that will continue to remain private.
Yeah.
Did you struggle with that sense of, and I only ask this because I did, not being a formally educated artist and a self-taught artist, did you struggle, you think, a little bit more with sort of putting yourself out there when you see everybody else's work and thinking everybody else has an MFA but you?
Yes, of course, absolutely. And I still do. And I think we always will. I mean, it's called, I hear it, and I talk to other artists as well, this imposter feeling. Right?
Yeah.
And, but I mean, my aspirations are modest. Like I don't know where this is going to go. I know I really, really enjoy it, and it fulfills a certain part of within my soul that I need to have. And so regardless of where it goes, like I'm here for good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're hooked. You can't. This is it for life now.
I think so, yeah. And as I said, I mean, I would love for it to become there's so few of us, I guess, really, that are so lucky to be able to support ourselves full time on it. And, so I would love that, but we'll see where it goes.
It's okay to put that out there to the universe, because you just never know, right? Yeah. Especially when you look back and think 3 years ago, what were you doing? And now you're in a gallery. What's the name of your gallery? Partial gallery?
Well, no, I've had pieces accepted by galleries over the past few years. I don't at the moment, though, have a full-time gallery representation at the moment. It's just I submit to open calls, and have been very fortunate to be accepted into a good number of them. Yeah,
that's great.
So, yeah.
And you have collectors all over, because I've been watching your posts sharing when your paintings arrive. It's such a good feeling, isn't it?
Many of those are older. Like I have my previous Instagram account was hacked, unfortunately, about a year ago.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not quite there yet, but I'm having to rebuild all of that. So some of I lost some of those images, and I'm just trying to sort of rebuild and thank some of those collectors, because it was just sort of lost. I'm just rebuilding this new account at the moment, but yeah.
You're not alone. You're not alone. A lot of people have been hacked. We had a whole episode on that, one artist's experience with having her account basically hijacked.
Yeah.
It's so devastating. Like, you work, I had worked 2 years at it and had built a reasonably good following and was getting lots of feedback, and then it was gone, just poof in the flash of a moment.
Ugh.
And I've lost contact. Like I still haven't been able to reconnect with a good number of people that I, mostly, Indians and Americans that I had a very good rapport with, and I just can't find some of them at the moment. So it's an awful thing to go through. And yeah, it never stops. Every week or so you hear of someone else's account unfortunately been hacked. So be careful, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I know Instagram recently made some change. There's actually a website or an email that you can reach out to, and they've acknowledged that this is happening a lot, and nobody's been able to reach them to sort it out. And they've actually set up a more transparent way of at least trying to get a human to listen to your plight. I don't know of anybody who's used it yet, but I know it's out there now. So
I could contact no human in all the attempts I last year.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're back.
Maybe this will help and spread the word that you're back, and maybe this will help you reconnect with some of those people.
It already has. I mean, I have to thank you two ladies. Like, since the announcement was made on Sunday, as you know, like I've reconnected with, I reconnected with someone from 20 years ago in my life, a totally different life that I had at and it's so amazing to be able to, you know, catch up with what she's doing. Another person who, you know, I met through my retail world and who is now an artist herself, and that's, you know, quite a coincidence. But in addition to her, there's just a lot of your followers, your regular followers, listen to this program, and they're new to me, and so I thank you.
That's great.
Like on that Sunday and Monday, you know, I picked up about 10 more followers,
Wow.
which is it's a lot. Yeah, no, because
These days, that's big.
that is big.
That is huge. Because we'd be like, you gain 5, then you'd lose 6, and then you gain 9, and you lose 12.
Well,
and,
we're all followed by NFTs,
yes, my
and
God.
you know, I don't know, those empty profiles which just have a couple of pictures of someone looking attractive, right? I get those as well, and
Yeah. Oh, do you?
I always just assume when, you know, 2 days later I lose 1 or 2, it's someone like that, I hope, right? Because they're not real followers.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
No.
and Luke was meaning when he said he caught up with an old friend he hasn't known for a long time. He was referring to Louise Fletcher, who we know and we've had on the show in the past, and we saw in the comments, and we were all quite excited to see that connection.
Yeah.
A small world.
What's really funny is she has a podcast, as you know, called Art Juice, and I already subscribed to Art Juice, and I've listened to a couple of the episodes, and her name is right there, Louise Fletcher, and I said that to her today. I'm like, I'm amazed that I still never made that connection that you were Louise. My name has changed since because my hyphenated name is a result of getting married. And so she would have only known me as Luke Labelle, but still, you know, like I guess maybe she saw a pic on Instagram and then realized.
Okay, so I wanted to shift a little bit and get you to talk a little bit more about your art. You put up a wonderful post on Instagram the other day, enlightening me on the history of hard edge painting, and I would love it if you wanted to share a bit about that, the history, but also how it relates to how you got started. And we can see some of your work behind you, but you can talk about that too.
Right. So hard edge painting first started in the late 1950s, but really caught on a couple of years later throughout the 1960s. And California is credited as its birthplace. And it was a reaction to sort of the abstract expressionism that was going on at the time by a number of artists who, you know, if you look at the definition of hard edge work, it falls between geometric extraction and color field painting. So they were looking for an impersonal a style to painting, which I don't quite like, because I don't really think of myself as impersonal, or like to think of my work as impersonal as well. But anyways, that was the roots of it, right? So that's kind of where it started, and it's had, you know, many amazing artists over the decades now. Anyone who follows me knows that Ellsworth Kelly is probably my most, someone that I most credit as getting me started in this direction, because I love his work so much. And Frank Stella, that's a very well-known artist as well. But we're lucky to have, like, even here back in Canada, we have some really incredible artists, like Jonathan Forrest, who I quite like, and Scott Sumi, who's out your way tomorrow. Like, he's a Vancouver artist who's very, very good. And of course, Basquiat, for a different reason. My work is very different from his, but I like the language of his work, and that's why, through hard edge abstraction, my approach, I think, would be different from the definition, in that I don't want it to be impersonal, and it's not meant to be cold. I mean, I am following the simplified geometric compositions that define it, and those sort of razor sharp edges to everything, which takes such a long time. Like, anyone who does it knows that, you pour over the canvas many times before, and we all do, before we call it complete, right? But like I was journaling for the longest time as a way to sort of express myself around mostly unfortunately traumatic events from my upbringing. Wasn't the best of family lives at home, and I kind of got bored of that, and I still, because I'm a deeply introspective person and probably private and introverted, maybe shy even. Some people find hard to believe, but I needed a way to kind of express myself, but with not sharing too many details. And so that's what I do with painting now. I kind of, when I always start something, it's always driven by a memory of mine, and I'm just kind of working through some of those feelings towards it at the time that I'm working on it. Well, so I think that if I was to find my style as well, it is definitely hard edge painting, but there's a couple of things I would like to change about that definition in my own work. And one of them is I've got plenty of studies surrounding me right now, because things I'd like to add is I'd like to do another layer to my work, in that I've always really loved I love collage. I love collage.
Yeah.
I do it, and most of my own collection is abstract in spite of what I create. It's very colorful, it's very loose, and so I'm looking at ways where I can add a little bit of what I would maybe define as carelessness to what I'm doing.
A little
so rigid. I'm definitely, like, because of my upbringing as well, definitely a safe, conservative sort of person who's always looking around the corner to make sure that everything is okay, and that's very much what I'm trying to communicate in my work. But having said that, it is important that it continues to move forward, and I look forward to the time when I can do a great deal more underpainting or layering, and or possibly, I don't know how it would work, but possibly even collage. But with the definition is that the paint is unmodulated work, right? And so something else that I'd like to maybe tinker with as well in the future.
Do you know our friend Joanne Guadagnier?
I was thinking of Joanne.
Yes, her work is fantastic.
Yes.
She's in Italy right now, is that right? Or
in Paris.
Even better. Her work is phenomenal, and she does do that quite well, right? Where it's not modulated color, and it's not flat. There's quite a few layers to her pieces, and her work is stunning. I love it. She's a lovely. We've been following. She followed me on the old account, and I got her back on this one. Yeah. And her work is just stunning. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, she builds her backgrounds up. I think she might use collage as well, then sands back into everything to create the background before she starts to put the geometric designs on.
I think her underneath, her underlayers are wild.
Yeah.
And then she imposes this order, which I just love about that, because it's there, that wildness, but it's organized and contained, and there's little hints of it, which speaks to her. Like, that's her personality.
That's Joanne to a T.
Yeah. So I have a bazillion questions, technique wise and all of that. But before you started painting, do you plan out your color scheme? Do you say, okay, I want this to be, mostly yellows and greens?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it does. They do start as sketches. I have a sketchbook, and they do start as sketches. Although, I have maybe 4 different sort of recognizable compositions, really, where it comes to the frames that I'm using on either sides, like some of them behind me there.
Yeah, I love that.
So it does start with that way, and then because of my continual study with color theory, like, I do, depending on what the subject is for me, I do try to associate colors that have meaning as well, like whether a sense of gratitude that I'm trying to respond to, or security, etc. So the color usually comes from what's happening behind the scenes for me. But anyways, lots of mapping out of color, like we all do. I don't like to restrict myself in my color palette, so there was a quote I once heard from, which I love, from Douglas Copeland. Okay. You're shaking your head, so no more explanation. Where I loved it. His art teacher said to him when he was in school, that he had to choose a color palette so that people would like recognize his work. And he's like, what is your color palette? And his response to his teacher at the time was, well, I want all the colors. Yeah. Which he wasn't advised to do, but clearly he went ahead and did so anyway. Yeah. And so that's it for me too. Like, I really don't want to exclude any colors. I think they're all beautiful in their own unique ways, and that they work quite, if they are mapped out really well, they work quite nicely together. Yeah. I certainly have a tendency towards red and magenta. I quite love as well. And then, a lot of what I think, I've been lucky enough to have gone to the Mediterranean, places like Santorini and so on. And the blues there are so, like, those pictures that you see are not photoshopped. Like, the brilliant blues they're real. And so I love those kind of blue. I refer to, as Mediterranean blues because there's so many shades. And then the other one I don't work with quite as much and for the same reason, is I like green a lot. I've also been fortunate enough to be to Scotland, and my in-laws live in some rural place called Callander, and they have a farm, and you would be amazed at the number of different shades of green that they live with on a daily basis. And it's just like your mouth drops open. So anywho, all that to say, it would be my 3 favorite color palettes. Not that you asked, but but I don't want to exclude any. Like, I love yellow ochre as well. I mean, a lot of people don't like that color, but I don't know why. I just love it as a neutral. It's and it's funny, when I first bought it, I only bought it to do the initial painting of the background. And then I started using it. Well, wow, I don't want to cover this up. I really quite like it.
Yeah. Makes the red look great.
Yeah.
I find.
Sure. Yeah. It's all about the relationships, right?
What's next to the other?
Staring at a piece right now that I guess would be described as brown, but it does have the red and the ochre in it as well. And it just, I like how it looks, for sure.
And how about this stripes? Oh, sorry.
I think we're going the same place, because I know how you're achieving the stripes. So I was going to ask a process question, because other people who are watching might not know how you achieve that precision in your work. So if you could talk about that for a second.
So the canvas starts as unprimed, and I will draw the sketch out on the canvas itself, rather darkly, like using a drafting pencil. So, because I want to be able to see it, so I will draw it out, and then I have to let it sit for 2 to 3 days so that I can then cover it in gesso. And the 2 or 3 days allows the pencil to sort of settle. Like, I've done it earlier, and the gesso just makes a mess of the pencil, like the pencil into the canvas. So it's all a big mess if you don't wait. So you wait those 2 or 3 days until the pencil is sort of settled, and then I cover it in 2 to 3 layers of gesso, which also takes a day or 2, depending how much time I have. And then I've kind of gone back to 2, because 3, it does make it difficult. Then the composition below starts to disappear and makes it harder for me to see. So I kind of stopped at 2, and then I can see the composition through the gesso, and then it's all just taped off, section by section. When I first started, I used to go like, left to right, dropping colors. And now I'm like, it's too time consuming. Like, now I just sort of, because I have the colors mapped out, I know where they're going, and I'm going to do the magenta line right now. Right. And that's really, talk about the precision, because it's, at the moment, during the process, it could be floating in air because everything on the other side of it is still unpainted. Right. But it really helps with the precision, and a ruler is my best friend. Like, even though I have it measured out already, the tape will be applied, and that will be measured out many times as well.
Do you ever use
Because a millimeter, it's like when you, sorry, it's like when you build a fence. So you're a millimeter off, and by the time you get to the end of the row, now your last plank is on a diagonal.
Well, I don't know what it says about me, but it's also soul fulfilling for me because, as I said, I'm very sort of conservative, straightforward, cautious sort of person, and my family likes to make fun of me. I can't believe I'm sharing this with you all, but you know, here goes. I have a measure, like as part of my house cleaning, like if I'm dusting or doing stuff, I have a measuring tape with me because as I put the vase back but it's got to be equal distance on the dining room table from one end to the other or from one side to the other. And,
I love that.
And yeah, I, you know.
Do you ever work with a T-square when you're doing your taping?
A T? Yeah, that's what I have. Yes.
So you're using to me, that is like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because I don't even measure. I'm like, not quite, I like being precise, but I don't measure, but I use that T-square to make sure that it's perpendicular to the edge, right? So that's if I want it straight. I'm
convinced I have to get a new one. That I think my ruler is crooked. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've had it for a long time, and maybe need a new one. I certainly need a like a bigger one because I'm always being asked to go bigger. Like most of the work I do is 12 by 12. And it wasn't really, it wasn't really planned that way, but you know, there's a lot of opportunities in Toronto for square foot shows. Mm-hmm. And so because I'm doing this part-time, I really do struggle for what I would like to be an adequate amount of time to dedicate to it. And so you know, like last year, I found myself always chasing my tail, trying to catch up to the latest square foot show requirements, right? Like 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 5 pieces, mm-hmm. whatever the case be, that I didn't allow time to do those other things like this. I've done bigger ones, but these 2 behind me, one 20 by 20 on your left, and then 24 are among the bigger pieces I've done. I do have a 36 by 36 floating around here, just one, and then a 30 by 40. And I'd like to do more of that, and I keep getting requests to do more of those, but I just got to get myself out of this square foot cycle. yeah. Well, you go to 24 by 24, so it's kind of like the 12 by 12, but a bit more. I really like.
That's 4 12 by 12s.
Is it?
I mean,
that's 4 12 by 12s. 24 by 24 is 4 12 by 12.
And the amount of effort that goes into it, absolutely. And I think that you know, one of the things too, of course, as artists as well, whatever size I guess we start with, we have to sort of grow into being comfortable with working with larger sizes, right? You know, some artists like larger versus small and vice versa. And so because I started small, it did take some, you know, it wasn't quite as comfortable and a little nerve-wracking to be able to work bigger. But now I think I feel quite good about the 20 by 20 and 20 by 24 that I hope that I've got a lot of pieces in progress, but that'll become more standard for me, right?
It's a nice size.
I'm sure for many people, certainly for galleries, like the bigger the better, right?
Yeah. 2 process questions I just want to quickly follow up on. One was somebody asked if you used clear gesso or white gesso because you can see your pencil marks through it. I just want you to clarify that if you don't mind.
No, I use white. So thank you, whoever that was, for the feedback. Yeah.
And you can see
it's thin enough. It's thin enough.
Man, you must be, I bet the surface of your work is a sheet of glass. I'm guessing, like just so smooth. I bet you apply gesso beautifully. I have it splattered everywhere.
Does that help?
Yeah, like your surface would have to not have any brush marks, right? And no ridges or little textural bits.
You can see the canvas, right? The canvas shows through it when you're close up, but that is part of hard edge abstraction as well, as that, you know, if you go back to its roots, the color was meant to be flat, right?
Yes.
And again, you know, that word impersonal and so on, but so I have kept with that. Although, you know, I have done a few pieces like the little red one behind me where I have done an underpainting in it that I purposely wanted to show through.
Mm-hmm.
And but normally, yeah, you just see the I don't know what you would call them, the pores of the canvas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other question was, and I think I know the answer to this because you posted about it, do you use a medium on your tape to help keep the paint from seeping under the edges?
Absolutely. That was a learning process for me too, because I you know, am self-taught. I had to learn all these things. Initially, I did not, and it was very difficult, and there was a lot of correcting, and I was just struggling to go like, what do I got to do? And so, you know, yeah, you know, ask, you go to the art store and you ask the people that work there, and you ask other artists, and so, yeah, I've been using, a gel medium for, you know, at least 2 years now, probably. That was an early days mistake, right? Or
So somebody's asking what kind of medium. Is it like a gloss medium?
Yes, it's yes,
like Liquitex or Golden or something?
it's golden. Yeah, it's golden, and you buy, you know, a big jug of it because my pieces are small. I often I'm just applying it with my finger, right? And so, at the end of it all, I've got all this, you know, dry.
Oh, don't you hate that? I find it so hard when
It's
I do work my collage. I now wear gloves with collage because I find I'm
do?
peeling it off. Oh my gosh, I'm peeling it off all day. I hate the feeling of it.
It's kind of fun. I don't mind peeling.
Terrible. Yeah, I mean, I'm so used to it, right? Because I've been doing it now for 2 years that I don't even notice it so much anymore. But it's weird. It's like taking off layers of skin, you know, like
like the old glue. Remember the old glue we used to have in school? With and you could make stuff and then.
Oh, you were one of those?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, This is a dumb. It's not a dumb question. There are no dumb questions. When you do the gloss medium, and they say, "Oh, just paint it along the edge," you've got some of the gloss medium on the tape, and some of it is on the canvas. You're just kind of going whoosh, and then when you rip the tape off, it splits the gloss medium.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be like super precise.
Acrylic, of course, it dries very quickly, right? Oil, so you can. I mean, I don't do it immediately, but yeah, I mean, and depending on the widths of the line, sometimes the gel medium is like on the line itself as well, right? Or the stripe, right? Because it, you know, if it's like a quarter of an inch or even half of an inch, like when you're applying that to both sides of the tape, it's going to be on the stripe itself. Yeah. And
you just paint over it.
Correct.
So even if it's a shiny gloss medium, you won't see that.
Well, and then I have been playing with, you know, I haven't traditionally put anything on the top of the pieces once they're done. But I have done a few, and quite honestly, it's like nervous, right? Like I'm like, oh my God, what's this going to do to the surface? But then you see all of these reels where everyone is doing that. So I think that I will consider that a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, you should test it out. I use a gloss medium coat on all of my paintings as their final coat before I varnish. And the thing I like about it is, you know, even when you're using the same brand of acrylic paint, sometimes one color has more sheen to it than another.
Yes.
You know, it's not, and so I like to just kind of create that, you know, it evens it all out and creates the same look from one color to the next.
I'm glad you said this because I have this part of my collection is this really beautiful piece by a Vancouver artist called Bratza Bonifacio. And he does these, his inspiration was computer viruses. So the piece is just a bunch of tiny squares with letters in them, and they're backwards and upside down, but he words in the pieces. And he's presented by Bogie Gallery. I've loved this, like the piece I have is I don't know, 10 years old or something, but I liked his work, but I never committed to it because it looked a little bit loose for I don't know. He never put anything on top. And then the piece that I own, he just started putting some sort of medium on top to sort of pull it all together. And it's remarkable when you look at the differences between the pieces, and it really does, like, it really, I love it. It's beautiful. It's very colorful. And yeah, it was an improvement, I think, to his work for sure.
Yeah, and the finishing makes the acrylic look better. I mean, that's one thing I learned, is that it just kind of takes it up a level, because acrylic can look plasticky,
Right.
especially if you're painting thickly, right? There's just something, and it could be the inconsistency of sheen. Who knows? Some of the colors are quite plasticky, but to put that gloss medium on makes all the colors really vibrant, and then you can tone it down with like a satin varnish. I love cold wax; it's beautiful to work with too. Gives it a lovely sheen on top of the gloss.
On top of the gloss.
I do have two golden varnishes here, one matte and one sheen, and yeah, I guess it's just a matter of starting to use them, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
and it'll protect too your color if you have a UV varnish, right? So
I find too that just it adds a layer, it adds a depth to the color. Like, you know, sometimes you're looking for a flat look, but in my work I often want to create that sense of depth, and that gloss medium coat will really do that. It sometimes it'll just pull a color forward and push a color back, and really you have to play around with it and see whether it works with your work and your style,
and overcome that fear that by putting it on the surface I'm going to ruin the piece.
You won't.
Make sure it's dry. Just make sure it's dry, and go thin layers. Like I water my gloss medium down, and I apply it very, very thinly, and then I let it dry for 24 hours, and then I resist the urge to put your finger on it to see if it's dry. Just 24 hours, walk away, and come back and put it
24 hours.
I do, and I think I'm shy. Because I've screwed up before where I've touched things and like, crap, I got a thumb mark right in the middle of my lightest value or something.
Yeah. It's like your signature.
Yeah.
Right.
True. Okay. Thank you for reframing.
Mm-hmm. Go. We should see if there's more questions, because we're kind of at the 42-minute mark. The time is far.
You're right. That did go quickly.
Didn't I say?
Okay. I'm going to pop a question up. Douglas has a question. He asked a while ago, sorry, Douglas, what's been your inspiration? Where did your desire come from? You sort of answered it, but maybe we'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, I don't, inspiration, I more so say my drive. I don't know, like, I live in downtown Toronto, so I know most commonly artists' inspiration is, you know, nature. I don't have nature. Like, I don't have trees, I don't have water, I don't have rocks. I have a bit of sky that through the buildings, but it's all concrete and people and buildings, and the years that I've lived here, like, there's construction everywhere. So I think that if pushed, I would say the inspiration would be the architecture down, because I get to see a building from the hole in the ground to completion when people are moving in, and there's so much construction going on around at the moment.
Here too.
Yeah, Burlington, right?
Oh yeah, lakefront, there's like tons.
But I guess more so I create art because less so of the inspiration, but more so the drive. And that is really about me, again, needing that outlet to, because of my childhood, I'm, you know, very much have OCD, and everything is in place. And if living with me is impossible, because if you put something, I'm going to pick it up and put it away. And even at work, people put a pen down or a down in the wrong place, and I subconsciously just pick it up and put it back. Like, I don't even see it. So my inspiration is about allowing me that opportunity to those memories that are floating in my head, to kind of re-put them on the canvas, and in an orderly, easy for me to manage way, right?
Yeah, sure.
I totally get that. There's something very satisfying about creating that order, and it's precise. And I think while you're doing it, I'm wondering, it's probably quite meditative and
it is
relaxing.
That's what I'm doing. Like I said, it's replaced journaling for me. And that's what I kind of hope that, anyone who's kind of living with the pieces, I really hope that that's what you would get out of them as well. That if you could just stop and look and engage with that, you could, some stress would melt away, because that, like I said, you enter into it, everything is safe, in order, and in its right place. And for me, that's very relaxing. And
I get that.
I wonder if do you struggle in the same way that some of us whose work is very open-ended in deciding when a piece is finished, or do you have a good sense of that because you know where you're headed when you start?
No, I pretty much know where I'm heading when I start. I have, I used to be in the beginning again, I used to be a lot more rigid. It's like the plan was the plan. I wasn't changing the thing, right? And then I'm like, well, wait a minute, you can paint over acrylic.
Yes, you can, a million times.
Like, why am I robbing myself of that opportunity going, okay, this doesn't look so great next to each other? And so, yeah, I do, it is all mapped out pretty much. Like I would say maybe 80% of it now, but I have been allowing myself the option of going back and going, I'm going to change something because it doesn't look quite right. Right. I can't change I can't change the composition really. I don't change that. It's just more so color placement.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. I don't see any more questions. And I'm wondering, unless there's any last minute extra thing we didn't talk about, Luke, that you wanted to leave us with.
Well, I have a question about your tape preference, because I'm now there's a part of me that loves the hard edge, but inside my crazy stuff, I'm sort of exploring that whole angle right now of putting something very precise next to chaos.
Right.
So tape, I'm going through a lot of tape. Have you found one that you just love that doesn't rip off everything below it, but still creates a nice adhesion to the surface?
The important thing with that is the medium, right? That will keep it there. But yeah, I'm just using a Scotch hard line blue tape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not you're not a, what is it?
Oh, is it 2093 or 90?
2090 for this one.
Okay. I think it comes in different widths, so maybe yours is a bit, the width is a bit different, but yeah.
I'm going to look for that. I'm a frog taper.
Okay.
But it's not always easy to find a lot of the widths, so.
Yeah, I'm looking for thinner now too, because I've got some floating around in my head, and I'd like to be able to.
You should ask Joanne. Ask Joanne, because she posted one day and she had a whole bunch of different tapes lined up, all sorts of different widths in her studio. So she might have a source for you.
Right.
She's the tape queen.
Is she? Oh
yeah. Imagine being known as the tape queen. You can be the tape king, and Joanne will be the tape queen.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh no, that's gonna stick now.
Oh no.
I've been called worse.
There you go. Well, it's been so great talking to you, Luke, and learning more about your process. And it really resonates with me. I love your precision, and I love the richness of your colors. And you're creating, I love the stripes. Like if you turn something sideways, how does that feel? Like if you take your verticals and rotate it, does that kind of like, no, I can't do that? Or
yeah, you're upsetting,
okay
you're upsetting my pearls.
your equilibrium. I get that.
Sorry, I'm a lot of fun to be around.
Just don't move stuff around you.
Yeah, don't touch anything, because I'll have to go adjust it.
Anyways, that was just my curiosity question.
Yeah, that's a thumbs down. No.
Okay, got it.
which is the beauty of, I guess, of abstract art as well. I mean, depending on the artist, is that, I mean, you posted a post yourself recently, right, about this one piece.
Always.
For different ways to sort of display it, and yeah.
Yours have to.
Isn't it funny? I always have a gut response when you post those, Barb. I'm always like, immediately I know which one I like. I don't even have
I gotta ask you then. And I kind of do, but sometimes I'll flip it one way and it almost feels like I'm looking at it like, I don't know, like through a mirror. Anyways, it's hard to explain, but it does
make a difference, right? And like you, Tamara, like you've done one or two recently, Barbara, and I immediately go to one. Like I will look at all four, but as I'm scanning through them all, one connects immediately, and then
it's like the weight of it, or where is it? Yeah,
or
something about that. Yeah, but I do love to rotate it just to make sure that it's working from all sides. It's just a little thing of mine.
Awesome. All right, everybody's saying thank you, everyone. In chat, which makes me think they're all leaving for lunch.
Not us. We're midway through the afternoon, right?
Yes. And if anybody is watching now or watching on the replay, you'll know that I always put notes, show notes up. So I will make sure that Luke LS_art is his Instagram, but it'll be there. And somebody did ask earlier about the names of some of the artists we talked about. I will link them up to that post that you shared yesterday, Luke, that gave the background of hard edge painting. And I'll make sure you see me writing. I try to jot this stuff down in the show notes so anybody can come back if they didn't catch a name when we said it.
Yeah. Or they can ask you.
Or they can ask.
Yeah.
Like, just reach out to Luke.
Reach out. Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today. We really liked getting to meet you more, and I'm really see you paint even bigger. I'd be watching for those 20 by 20s.
Oh, great. Thank you.
24 by 24. No pressure, yeah.
This has been I'm very grateful for this opportunity as well that you've allowed me to reach more people, as you both have fantastic audiences, and thank you.
Well, our pleasure. We really enjoyed it too. I feel very calm now. I feel very calm. I want to go take some stuff.
Thanks. Are good.
And thanks to everybody who tuned in. We have a great community here. We try to get to questions. Really appreciate that a lot of you guys show up every single week and listen to us Babylon. So we love you.
Yeah, we do. Have a great week.
Have a great week. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Luke.
Ladies, and everyone who joined. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.